What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can already tell from the title and thumbnail, and probably the very reason you even clicked on this video, is because today we're going to cover my Team of the Week 8 predictions. Now, just before we get into all of that, I just want to let you guys know that I am pretty active on Twitter as of now. So if you actually use Twitter, I am trying to build some sort of community over there, so feel free to, drop a follow over there. And for any new viewers, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. Also, everyone, just feel free to drop a like on this video to show your support. And then finally, for the intro, as per, I always ask, who else do you think should feature in this week's Team of the Week, and why? So now that's out the way, let's get on with my predictions. And starting with the goalkeepers, which is pretty much gospel at the moment, we have two fairly average possibilities. I found that the best keepers, they really didn't perform overly well at the weekend, in real life anyways, so I don't really see them getting any Team of the Weeks. And even the good keepers being suggested, the likes of Handanovic, I just couldn't figure for the life of me why he deserved Team of the Week. So I found these two guys to be best fitting in being Muslera and Joe Robles. Now I'll start with Muslera, who is actually a really good keeper. But as a base rating of 81, I could only really put him as an 84 at most. I believe that he does deserve a Team of the Week, provided that Galatasaray's last two victories came literally at the hands of the Uruguayan. And beside him, who was again a tricky choice, this guy, Joe Robles, again, I know very little about him. That's not to say he's not good, I've never seen him play, and I don't think I've ever really heard of his name. That's no slight dig at him. He does actually look okay. It's just his rating, and to be honest, there are a lot better La Liga alternatives. I suppose for both of these guys, you wouldn't complain if you packed them because they are both decent ratings, for Team of the Weeks, and they could be great for using SBCs. It's just if you got them in red players, you wouldn't be overly excited. And so yeah, that's the keepers done. Moving on to the defenders, we have Dunk, De Ligt and Walker. We'll start with Walker, a man that most Premier League fans thought he was finished in terms of his Manchester City career anyways. Considering that Cancelo was and still is the new kid on the block, who plays the exact same position, I guess Walker was kind of desperate to disprove all that, and what a way to do it. With a goal and an assist, it was not only enough to snatch a victory for City and literally win them a game single-handedly, but it was also to show the doubters that he still has it in him. And I think even if you hate Manchester City as a club, you'd love to have this guy in your team. I mean, look at his stats. Next up we have De Ligt, a Dutch wonder kid of sorts, who, at least when I hear his name, I tend to recall back to last season at Ajax, where he was just full of Champions League semi-final warranting performances, prior to his big money move to Juventus. Again, unfortunately, haters coined him as a one-season wonder, despite being so young, and I suppose the form that he's been on, he's able to disprove all of that. Personally, I think he's very good, but just not so good for FIFA. He's just way too slow, man. He's really against the meta, and similarly to Dunk on the left, and very dissimilar to Walker. Speaking of Dunk, he's a very interesting player. He has surprised a lot of people this season. I go as far as to say he is a very good fantasy football gem. If he continues the form that he's actually on, I could very much see him get him in Team of the Season. That actually kind of reminds me, I should probably mention that I am going to be making a similar video covering the Team of the Year. Me predicting who I think will feature, and maybe who I think could surprise everyone by, getting in that squad. Anyways, all three defenders are deserving of informs, and I imagine that people won't be too unhappy if these guys actually feature either. Now onto the first set of midfielders, we have Kostic for Frankfurt, we have Hakim Ziyech for Ajax, and Amrabat. All three players do look interesting and look very unique. I'll start with the middle with Ziyech because he's the highest rated, and he looks genuinely really good. He's not exactly meta, but for a cam to have, 80 odd pace, even if it's just relative, it might be a little bit lower, but I still think he's a really good player in real life. And actually, as I'm recording, they're about to play Chelsea in the Champions League, so that's an interesting one. I know he's a good player in real life. Moving on to Kostic, last year he actually did get a Team of the Season, and I think he's carried on that good form through this season. I've not actually seen too much of him, but in the recent weeks he actually helped win the game for Frankfurt, so I think he's deserving of a Team of the Week, and I don't see why they wouldn't feature him. He's a decent rating again, also a good SBC fodder, but you could also use him in a Bundesliga team, as there's not that many good left wings, left mid alternatives. And then finally, using Amrabat, you're not really going to ever put him in a team. I'd be pretty surprised if I ever actually came up against him. But he does look okay, and with a couple of informs, maybe he's actually a really usable player, maybe as a super sub. But as of now, it's a pretty average card, dead league, and unfortunately dead nation, because there's just not that many good players from that country. So I just don't think he's a very exciting player, but he's not terrible, and again, decent rating, good SBC fodder. And yeah, moving on to the next set of midfielders, we have Alberto, Timor, I think that is, and Muniain, all Spanish, coincidentally. All midfielders, all on great form in real life. I know Lazio have actually been doing really well in this area. At least that's the kind of image I'm getting, because I've seen Immobile get suggested, and some other players that come into my mind at the moment. Timor, who I've never actually heard of, and I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, but I'm beginning to just lose the care for pronunciations. He does look decent, but again, low rated. No one's going to be that excited for him. But he did actually have quite a good performance in his last game, so I can see him getting a team of the week, just as one of the more dead players. He'll probably just be on the reserves or the bench or something. Anyways, finally going on to Muniain, who actually looks really good. Like, if he got like 1 or 2 more informs, he could genuinely be insane. I think he definitely fits this type of game. I was saying the same with Ziyech, how he's actually quite fast for a cam. And so if he gets a couple of informs, he'll have better shooting, and maybe he'll actually be a really viable option for the La Liga. And yeah, that's about it for them. Moving on to the attackers, we have Timo Werner, Trossard, and Muset. Again, I'm trying my best. Werner, he's been named as the Bundesliga player of the week, and rightfully so. I heard something about him getting 5 goals, 5 assists. This is obviously in one game. It could be over a matter of 3 games. It depends. But at the end of the day, in his last performance, he actually put in a shift, and I think Leipzig are actually a really underrated team. They have a lot of decent players. And again, when I'm talking about past form and how people are actually like bringing it to the new season, Werner is definitely one of those players. Moving on to another Brighton player who, with picking 2 players from the same team, it's very unlikely that they'll both get one. It'll be one or the other. So I kind of put all my eggs in one basket at this point and just picked them both. And Trossard he looks like a very decent player. He's got a very nice card, so I can see him featuring. It is the Premier League, so for him to actually get an inform, I think they'll be more keen on actually making it for him. He does look decent, like I said, and Brighton as an actual team in real life are doing very well, so he could feature, but then I think Dunk wouldn't. I think Trossard is actually a more go-to player than Dunk, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go for Trossard instead. And then finally for this section we have Muse. At the end of the day, this guy is on decent form. Sheffield haven't had the best of starts, but they have actually got a decent amount of points considering the teams that they've played. And this French guy, I've never actually really heard of him. I don't think I have anywhere. He could be young, but at the end of the day, great form. When I had a look at the player ratings, he was one of the key players of the week, so I wanted to just feature him in. He's a decent, he's a decent Premier League player, but with the kind of stats that he has in FIFA, it's not really going to work. For him to actually be, a viable option, as some would say, he's probably going to need a couple more informs. But I can actually see him featuring, again, as more of a bench player, but I guess we'll see anyways. And then finally, moving on to the next section, and yeah, the last section within this. Here we have some elite players. Well, I'd say 2 elite players. I had to kind of mix it up. If I put all the best players on one screen, it'd be very, I think it'd just be a bit mismatched. But yeah, so we have Karim Benzema, Kluivert, and Messi. And now, I was even questioning myself when it came to choosing Messi. I have actually predicted him before in recent weeks, and he's not got it. I think it's just because of the expectations that both Messi and Ronaldo have set. Even a Neymar is going to struggle to actually earn a team of the week, even if he gets a goal, an assist, maybe even 2 goals at that point. But what I'm trying to say is Messi has actually scored a lot of goals in the last week. Barcelona have played 2 or 3 games, not too certain, but at the end of the day, he's on very good form, and I think they've been harsh to not give him one already. I think he deserves one, and it would definitely make people very excited. It'd make people up on packs, so I can see him actually adding him. So I guess we'll just have to see again. That's kind of the premise of it, really. I'm just going to move on to Justin Kluivert, the legend's son. I think it's good to see when it's passed down generations, and you can see he's actually he's got a very nice card. Playing for Roma, he's not the most viable option, but there aren't actually that many good Italian league left wings, so you kind of just got to look past it and think this guy is actually quite meta, and I can actually see him also featuring. He could feature in the actual team because people would actually want him, but his low rating would also put a lot of people off, so again, we'll just have to see. And then finally, as the last player I'm going to mention, Karim Benzema. He's actually a fan favourite at times. I've actually used him this year and he's been very good. This would be his second in form, which is why you can see he actually does have a dynamic image. For me, I'm not actually too sure how to do the dynamic images, so I'll only be able to use it when they've already got an in form. Anyways, look past that, look at his card, it looks very good. Obviously the stats that I put on don't mean anything in terms of it actually being set in stone. And you really got to take these predictions with a pinch of salt, but honestly, this is what I think the team of the week would look like, and I would be very pleased if these players actually got in, especially on the last scene where you're seeing Benzema and Messi. I just think they'd be very good, and they would definitely sell packs, so I can see it happening. Anyways, that is my prediction for this week. If you have any questions about, the way I actually put these videos together, make sure that you actually, you can DM me on Twitter, whatever else, and I guess I'll see you in my next video. Peace.